Level 1. The Garage Tinkerer. You're 15 years old and you just bought a broken moped for €100. It doesn't run. The previous owner said it just needs a carburetor cleaning. You have no idea what a carburetor does or how to clean one. You have a basic tool set your dad gave you and access to YouTube. That's enough to get started. You wheel the moped into your parents' garage. You find the carburetor by following a video. You remove it. It's covered in old fuel residue and gunk. You disassemble it carefully, laying out every part on a towel so you remember where everything goes. You spray carb cleaner through every passage. You blow compressed air through the jets. You reassemble it exactly how the video showed. You install it back on the moped. It still doesn't start. You've been working for 3 hours and you're exactly where you started, except now your hands are covered in grease and you smell like gasoline. You check the spark plug. It's fouled. You replace it with a new one. The moped fires up on the third kick. The engine sounds rough, but it runs. You just fixed your first engine. It's the most satisfying feeling you've ever experienced. You start looking for more broken things to fix. A friend has a scooter that won't idle properly. You adjust the idle screw and clean the air filter. Fixed. Your neighbor's lawnmower won't start? You change the oil and clean the carburetor. Fixed. You're not a mechanic, you're just a kid with tools and enough curiosity to figure things out. But you're learning that mechanical problems have logical solutions. If you understand how something is supposed to work, you can usually figure out why it doesn't. You save money from part-time jobs and buy a car, a 1998 Honda Civic with 200,000 kilometers and a check engine light. You pay €800. Your parents think you're crazy. The car runs, but it has problems. The brakes squeal, the exhaust rattles, the transmission shifts rough. Most people would take it to a mechanic. You take it as a challenge. You replace the brake pads yourself. You watch videos, you buy the parts online, you jack up the car, remove the wheels, compress the caliper pistons, install new pads. It takes you 6 hours because you're learning as you go. A shop would charge €200 for this job. You did it for €40 in parts. The brakes don't squeal anymore. The check engine light is still on. You buy an OBD2 scanner for €30. You plug it into the port under the dashboard. The code is P0420, catalytic efficiency below threshold. The catalytic converter is failing. A new one costs €600. You're not fixing that. You'll drive it with the light on. You're learning which problems matter and which ones you can ignore. Level 2. The Apprentice Mechanic. You're 17, and you've decided this is what you want to do, not just as a hobby, as a career. You apply to automotive apprenticeship programs. Most shops want someone who's at least 18, but you find one that'll take you. A small, independent garage that services all makes. 3 mechanics, 1 service writer, 1 owner who still works in the shop. They agree to train you. Your first day, they hand you a broom. You spend the morning sweeping the shop floor. You spend the afternoon organizing the tool room. This isn't what you expected. You wanted to work on cars. Instead, you're cleaning. The lead mechanic explains that every apprentice starts the same way. You learn the shop. You learn where everything is. You learn how the workflow operates. Then you start touching cars. Week 2, they let you do oil changes. You drive customer cars into the bay, you put them on the lift, you drain the oil, replace the filter, add new oil, check the levels. Simple work, but you're learning the process. How to lift a car safely, how to dispose of waste oil properly, how to complete a job efficiently. You do 20 oil changes that week. By the end, you can do one in 15 minutes. Month 3, they start giving you real work. Brake jobs, tire rotations, suspension repairs, belt replacements. You work under supervision. The lead mechanic checks everything you do before the car leaves. You make mistakes. You over-torque a lug nut and strip the threads. You forget to bleed the brake system properly and the pedal feels soft. You install a belt backwards and it shreds after 5 minutes. Each mistake is a lesson. The lead mechanic doesn't get angry. He explains what you did wrong and why it matters. You don't make the same mistake twice. You're also attending vocational school 2 days a week. You study automotive theory, engine operation, electrical systems, transmission function, diagnostic procedures. The classroom work makes the hands-on experience make sense. You understand why certain repairs are done certain ways. You learn the engineering principles behind the mechanical systems. Theory and practice together create real understanding. Year 2, you're working more independently. You diagnose problems instead of just replacing parts. A customer complains about a noise when turning. You test drive the car, you hear it, a clicking sound from the front end. You lift the car and inspect the CV joints. The boot is torn and grease is leaking. The joint is worn. You replace the axle. The noise is gone. You solved a problem from symptoms to repair. The apprenticeship lasts 3 years. 3 years of learning every system on a vehicle. Engines, transmissions, brakes, suspension, electrical, climate control, computer systems. You take the journeyman certification exam. You pass, you're a certified automotive technician now. You're 20 years old and you have a trade. Level 3, the journeyman technician. You've been working as a certified tech for 2 years. You're fast now. You can diagnose most problems quickly. You understand how systems interact. You know that a misfire can be ignition, fuel, compression, or timing. You know how to test each possibility systematically until you find the cause. But the work is harder than you expected in different ways. The physical labor you can handle. It's the customer service aspect that's challenging. Customers don't understand why repairs cost what they cost. They think you're trying to rip them off when you quote €800 to replace a water pump. They don't see the 3 hours of labor. They don't see the complexity of removing the timing cover to access the pump. They just see a small part that costs €60 and wonder where the other 740 goes. You also deal with cars that have been neglected for years. A customer brings in a car that hasn't had an oil change in 30,000 kilometers. The engine is sludged. The oil looks like black pudding. They're upset when you tell them the engine might be damaged. They're even more upset when you tell them it's their fault for not maintaining it. You're learning that some people treat cars like appliances that should just work without maintenance. The technology keeps changing too. You grew up working on simple engines with carburetors and distributor ignition. Modern cars have direct injection, variable valve timing, turbochargers, hybrid systems, advanced driver assistance. Every year, vehicles get more complex. You attend training courses to stay current. You learn to use diagnostic scan tools that cost more than your first car. You learn to interpret data from dozens of sensors. The pay is decent. You make $35,000 a year. Not rich, but stable. You have benefits. You have job security because people always need mechanics. But your body is starting to show wear. Your knees hurt from kneeling on concrete. Your back aches from leaning over engines. Your hands are covered in scars from sharp metal and hot components. You're only 22, but your body feels older. Level 4, the master technician. 6 years in the trade, and you've become the go-to guy for difficult diagnostics. When other techs can't figure out a problem, they bring it to you. You've developed an intuition for troubleshooting that only comes from experience. You can hear an engine and identify problems by sound. You can feel a transmission shift and know what's failing inside. A car comes in with an intermittent stalling issue. 3 other techs have looked at it. They've replaced the fuel pump, the ignition coils, the crankshaft position sensor. The problem persists. The customer is frustrated. The shop owner is losing money on warranty work. They give it to you. You start from scratch. You don't trust what's been done before. You test drive the car until it stalls. You pay attention to the conditions. It only stalls when hot. It only stalls at idle. It restarts immediately. That tells you something. You check for vacuum leaks. You find a crack in the intake manifold that only opens up when the plastic expands from heat. You replace the manifold. The stalling stops. You solved a problem that stumped 3 techs because you approached it systematically. You're also mentoring the new apprentice, a kid who reminds you of yourself 5 years ago. Eager but clueless. You teach him the same way you were taught. You show him once and expect him to remember. You let him make mistakes on non-critical jobs where mistakes are learning opportunities. You explain why things are done certain ways. You're passing on knowledge the same way it was passed to you. Level 5, the Shop Foreman. 10 years in the trade and the shop owner promotes you to foreman. You're managing the workflow now, assigning jobs to techs based on their skill level and efficiency, coordinating with the service writer about repair timelines, ensuring quality control on every job before cars leave. You're responsible for the shop's productivity and reputation. This role is different. You're not turning wrenches as much. You're solving organizational problems. 2 major jobs came in simultaneously and you only have 1 lift available for engine work. You have to schedule them efficiently. A tech called in sick and you're short-staffed on a busy Monday. You have to redistribute the workload. A customer is angry about a repair bill and threatening to leave a bad review. You have to explain the charges and defend your shop's work. You're also dealing with parts suppliers, warranty claims, equipment maintenance, shop cleanliness, and safety compliance. The shop has to pass inspections, the lifts have to be certified, the waste oil has to be disposed of properly. These aren't mechanical problems, but they're your problems now. You still take on the most challenging repairs yourself, the jobs that require the highest level of expertise: engine rebuilds, transmission overhauls, complex electrical diagnostics. But you're spending more time managing than wrenching. That's the trade-off of moving up. Level 6, the shop owner. 15 years in the trade, and you've taken the biggest risk of your life. You opened your own shop. You took out a loan for the equipment. You signed a lease on the building. You hired 3 technicians. You're not just a mechanic anymore, you're a business owner. The technical work is the easy part now. You know how to fix cars. The hard part is everything else. Marketing to attract customers, managing cash flows you can pay technicians and suppliers, dealing with insurance companies who question every repair, handling employees who call in sick or quit without notice, worrying about meeting loan payments during slow months. A typical day involves diagnosing a transmission problem, approving a parts order, interviewing a job candidate, resolving a customer complaint, paying invoices, and updating the shop's social media. You're working 60 hours a week. You're stressed constantly. But you're building something. Your shop, your reputation, your future. Your shop specializes in European vehicles, BMWs, Audis, Volkswagens, Mercedes. You invested in the specialized tools and training to work on these cars. The dealerships charge premium prices. You offer dealership quality service at independent shop prices. Your customers are loyal because you're honest and competent. You explain what needs to be fixed now and what can wait. You don't sell unnecessary repairs. Your reputation grows through word of mouth. 5 years into ownership and the shop is profitable. You have a steady customer base. You've hired 2 more techs. You've added a second bay. The business is stable. You're making more money than you ever did as a tech, but you're working harder than ever. You haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. Your relationships suffer because you're always at the shop, but you're building equity. You're creating something that has value beyond your labor. Level 7, the full circle. You're 35 years old. You've been around cars your entire adult life. You started as a teenager fixing a broken moped in your parents' garage. Now you own a successful automotive repair business. You've come a long way. Your body shows the years of physical work. Your knees are bad from kneeling on concrete. Your hearing is diminished from years of loud tools. Your hands are permanently stained from years of handling greasy parts. You've been burned by hot exhausts and hit by tools slipping off tight bolts. You've inhaled brake dust and exhaust fumes despite always trying to be careful. This work takes a physical toll. But you built a career doing something you love. You solve problems every day. You keep vehicles running safely. You provide employment for technicians who feed their families with the paychecks you sign. You created something from nothing. And somewhere, right now, there's a 15-year-old kid wheeling a broken moped into his parents' garage. He doesn't know what a carburetor does. He's about to learn. He's going to struggle. He's going to get frustrated when things don't work. But if he sticks with it, he'll discover that understanding how machines work is deeply satisfying. He'll develop skills that are always in demand. He'll build a career fixing things in a world where most people don't know how anything works.